Professor, as a methodology for solving problems and learning in education and the workplace, action learning obviously has lots of applications. Can I turn to the learner though? If I'm a learner who has been accustomed to more traditional approaches and now I'm moving into an action learning style of process, what does that mean to me? What's going to be different for me?
Well, let me tell you, this is an absolutely true story. I ran the action learning program in Belgium, and it has actually put the productivity of Belgium to the top of the world list. And at the end of the first program, they all called, they said, we're going to have a banquet in honor of Professor Revans. I said, well, I'll come to the banquet and bring my wife, but I'm not going to make a speech. And there were a lot of people there from all banks, insurance companies, department stores, steel works, non-ferrous metal refineries, oil refineries, all of that. And I said to them, following up your question, I said, you've all been in this, you've all been learners, I haven't told you anything, you've worked together on each other's problems, but on the dining tables at which you're all sitting, in front of you is this great menu card with your name on it in marvelous handwriting. I want to take those cards away as my reward for having helped you in this way, or having learned a lot about myself about it. But what I want you to do is to write on the back of that card, what do you think is the most important question which you have learned to ask yourself? What have you discovered most about yourself by going through this experience? And I said, but before you write it down, please discuss it with your wife, who is sitting, that is your wife sitting next to you, yes? At least that's what we invited her as. So before you answer this question, discuss it with your wife, and then send it up to me. Oh, and by the way, what I want you to do is to write it in the language which you first spoke at your mother's knee, on your mother's knee, because in Belgium they speak 3 languages. 48% speak French, 46% speak Flemish, and the remainder speak German. And so we had them. I said, write it down in your own language. And as they sent the cards in, I wrote up on butcher's paper what they'd written. And I said, I now want you to vote, all of you, vote for which of those questions do you wish you had asked? The questions about yourself. What do you think that question they all voted for said, we wish we'd put that question? It was this. What is an honest man, and what need I do to become one? Because if what you are doing is investigating a real pressing problem for which you yourself carry immediate personal responsibility, and you cannot push that off onto somebody else and say, well, it was his fault, or we didn't get the right advisors here. You carry the final can. What they realized was their need never to pretend to be somebody whom they were not. And if someone would like me to summarize what I think of university education, a lot of it is merely an apprenticeship to go around the world passing yourself off as somebody you are not. That's what you learn in universities. You become an MBA. And at one, I had to speak after the chairman of the stock exchange in Hong Kong had been arrested. They asked me to go out there, and at the end of my talk, somebody said, does MBA stand for Moral Bankruptcy Assured? So I'm not sure about that. I said, I don't know. It may not mean that in words, but it may be that in behavior, that's exactly what it does mean. But I think what action learning has done, if it's genuine action learning, is to make people aware that they must not pretend to be somebody they're not, and above all, not to pretend to be the expert they're claiming to be. That they say, well, yes, I may understand 90%, 95% of this, but there are things here I don't understand. And this is what you learn from action learning. Again, look, it won't take long. You will very soon discover that if what you're into is genuine action learning, you will very soon find that really there are ways in which you should be looking at what you're doing, which are not those to which you've grown up and become accustomed.
And would these, for you, be the personal benefits that you're obtaining?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Not only personal to yourself, but benefits
to other people. Mm.
Now, I know I've been accused of moral evangelism, but let at least me quote here from the Bible, and I've seen copies of the Bible in Australia, people have got it. There's an argument between Jesus and the experts. The experts, of course, were the Pharisees. And he had been talking, not unlike yourselves, not unlike the pair of you, he'd been talking about the need for people to be a little better in their behavior. And he, of course, was referring to the kingdom of heaven. And the Pharisees kept saying to him, but what is this kingdom of heaven? How are people better? Of course, if you read the St. Luke's Gospel, it's put rather differently. The actual quote is this. This is Luke chapter 17, verses 20, 21. The words in the Oxford Authorized Version are, and when it was demanded of him by the Pharisees when the kingdom of heaven should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of heaven cometh not by outward show, neither shall ye say, look, it is here, nor look, it is there, for behold, the kingdom of heaven is within you. What, of course, he's inferring is that if you really want to understand and be truthful, it's not sufficient just to say, listen to this chap or listen to that. You've also got to ask yourself a few questions. And that is the absolute essence of action learning. If you're dealing with complex reality, it's no good saying, that explains it or that explains it. That may be a part explanation, and that may be a part explanation. But if you've got to handle it, you've also got to ask yourself who you are, what you believe in, what you can do. And that's the final value, to me, of action learning.
Some people must find that process fairly liberating, mustn't they? To be legitimised, to be able to ask further questions rather than feeling bound to know all there is about their particular discipline.
Yes, okay. It's true, but the last thing I want to do is to give the impression that I'm going to teach them how to do it, or that even if they read the Bible, they'll learn how to do it. They will only learn to do it by themselves being engaged in some real mess which they have to do something about. But they will learn with and from others who are also in that same mess. Jesus' reference to the kingdom of heaven being within you, please don't think I'm disputing that. I would like to add something more. As in the Cavendish, when we were trying to understand in this vast complex of Nobel Prize winners and other people of almost the same level, what we were trying to do there was to explore our own capacity to ask fresh questions. That the seminars we ran weren't to convince other people how clever we were. They were to help us explore our own misunderstandings. And I think that as action learning extends, so people begin to see that by getting involved with others in the solution of real problems, and I use an expression here, comrades in adversity, and when I use the word comrades, don't think I've come from Moscow or anything like that, but only when you're in trouble with other people who say, okay, we're in trouble too, how do you ask yourself fresh questions? But never run an action learning program in which some people are so confident that they know the answers to everything, they will actually stop the other people from exchanging their misunderstandings and their ways of asking themselves who they are and what they believe in.
Professor Revans, you've actually given us quite interesting insights into action learning, ones that I didn't realise. The moral dimension, for example. Do you have any particular difficulties with the way people are using action learning processes these days to make money?
If I started to tell the truth of what I feel, I would at once be sued for libel by up to 100 different management consultants. So I'll keep quiet on that. Thank
All
you.
right, fine, thank you.
But I'm giving a television talk on that in New York, I hope. And you have a look at that, because what I'm going to say on there, I've ensured that I shall not be sued by the experts. Yes. No, but you have to go through that. A lot of people are selling bogus, hocus-pocus action learning, charlatanism. But you must expect that. But I don't want to mention any of them by name.
Good. All right, well, on that note, we'll end there, Professor Revans, and thank you very much for your time this morning, and we do hope that your stay in Australia
Well,
will be a
there's one
pleasant
thing
one.
I would like to say, and I hadn't, and please don't think I'm all that conceited. I'm only a professor, I must be conceited for that. But I'm delighted to come here because exactly 60 years ago, this month, July 1930, I won 2 silver medals in the first Commonwealth Games in Hamilton, Ontario, and I come here, and outside I see the stadium on which you had the games of 1982.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk round that stadium and try and imagine I'm 60 years younger. I'm walking around the stadium.
Good.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you,
Revans.
Professor Revans. Appreciate your time.